Hello everyone and welcome back to another Figurehead Reviews video, and today we are taking a look at the NECA San Diego Comic Con exclusive Batman vs. Predator 2-pack. We have here on the front very simple Batman logo and a little Predator targeting emblem, and that is an embossing here, not on the names but on the logo we do get some embossing. And then believe me when I tell you the rest of this packaging is plain. There is nothing else on it except for on the bottom, which has the UPC code, but again this is a San Diego Comic Con exclusive, so you're not going to find it at retail. But we can open it up and then see the Predator and Batman displayed here in the front window. So let's go ahead and get this open and take a look at those two figures. And here is Batman and Predator outside of their packaging. I don't have any of their extra accessories, mostly with Predator. I don't have his extra accessories attached or otherwise put on there. So this is how they come out of the packaging, completely fresh out of there. And I already have a few complaints that so far I've been able to kind of take care of some of them. The first thing I'll point out, and I've actually heard this before, but it's the smell and the feel of the figures when they come out. So we get a very plasticky smell, and there's oil on certain spots of the figures, and I assume that has something to do with the joints. But was like a significant amount of oil in certain spots where I could literally wipe it off and actually like see the oil on there. So it wasn't just like a thin film. There were some spots where it had accumulated. Some of my other complaints really have to do with primarily Batman for the most part. Number one, his cape on his right-hand side was not fully inserted into the cowl portion that it connects to, and I'll kind of show at closer looks what I mean by that. But I had to go in myself and just sort of adjust that. And then the other part is the design of Batman. A couple people have pointed out that this does not match what we saw in the Batman vs. Predator comic book, and that is true that it does not match Batman vs. Predator Part 1, which is the one I was most familiar with. But I started looking around, and it looks like this particular design is more closely related to the Batman vs. Predator 3, which was, as the name implies, the third set in that run where Batman was fighting in armor that looks very much like this. But, I mean, it is cool with these figures, though, getting them. I'm excited, but some of that excitement was muted a bit by some of the issues I ran into with the cape. Very stiff joints. I mean, I probably played with both of these figures for about 5 to 10 minutes before I even just got them up here like this to loosen up some of the joints. I had most of Batman's joints were not frozen, but I had to work on the double knees, double elbows, and then Predator, I had to work on his elbows as well. But once I got him going, it wasn't too bad. So, but anyway, let's go ahead and take a look real quick first at the accessories that we get with this set, and then we're going to get a better look at each figure. So taking a look at the accessories that we get, most of them are going to actually be for the Predator. So starting first, for example, we have the shoulder cannon here, which you can see is a very cool design, but one of the biggest flaws is right there with the actual gun. You can see that my hinge is just very loose there. So unfortunately, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do about that. Probably just either super glue it or find some way to get it affixed in this position, which is really going to be the primary firing position. So yeah, but otherwise you can see it is a very neat design and very much what we would expect with the Predator. A little soft rubber hose there, that's cool. So we do have a port here and down there, and then on the back of the Predator you can see already this port here, and then in the top of his shoulder is the other port. So all you have to do is just get it lined up, and it was a little tricky for me at first, but once you kind of get the feel for it, and that's about it. But that is what it's going to look like on the Predator, so I think that looks really cool with the exception again of that. So big bummer there. Then we do get a disc for the Predator, which is pretty cool looking. Not a whole lot of paint going on with it. We get a soft, subtle silver and then a dark dry brushing over it to really make it look a little bit more worn. And yeah, I think that looks cool. And then one of the extra hands that we get with Predator is going to be this hand here, where it just looks like he's not quite a gripping hand, because we do get the spear, and it doesn't really grip the spear very well. So I was trying to figure out how to get this to work, And what I've discovered is you can get, with a little bit of bending and finagling, there we go, and all the fingers will line up properly. So this is going to be the disc throwing hand that you can get for that. So I think that looks really cool, and it does hold it in place quite nicely, so no issues there. The other hand that we get with Predator is this open hand for his left hand, and I think that is cool looking, just a gesture or reaching, grasping, whatever you want to use it for. And I think the detail on it looks pretty cool, so I like that as well. Looking at that staff that we get, so I know there's names for all of these, and I do apologize, but it's a very cool looking staff, and we get the blades and everything on there. We get similar dry brushing, and then it does have that little extension, but just be careful if you do overextend it. Oh, see, now it won't. Oh, there it goes. It's not a problem to get it put back in there. So, yep. And then you do have, on the Predator, you have gripping hands in each hand, so you could really get this in each one. But I will tell you, you're probably going to have to warm these hands up to get it to fit in there, because I was having a hard time getting it to go in without doing something to the actual staff itself. Now, we do get the alternate head sculpt of the unmasked Predator head, but we're going to take a closer look at that in a second. And that just leaves us with the Batman's accessories. So we do get an alternative hand, and then we do get this little gun. The gun does not, it's not molded in there. The gun does come out, but obviously you're not going to use it in any of the fisted hands. So this is what that's going to look like with that little, I don't know what the heck this gun is. I don't remember any sort of special gun or anything in the Batman vs. Predator storyline, but I mean, it has that same silver with the dark dry brushing on it, so it looks pretty cool. And then the classic iconic baseball bat. If you're wondering why it has a baseball bat, at the end of Batman vs. Predator, Batman basically chases a injured Predator down and kicks his butt using a baseball bat. And this is one of the main reasons why most of us were thinking that this would be a Batman vs. Predator 1 version of the comic. But again, that suit looks like it's more inspired by Part 3. I love it. We get a little splatter of blood on it. So, but yeah, very cool looking. But yeah, now that's it for the accessories. Let's go ahead and take a look at Batman and the Predator. So starting first here with the head that comes in the box, we get the masked Predator, which is very cool looking. We get the yellow eyes glowing, and yeah, a little bit of dry brushing on there. But all in all, came out looking good. I love that it looks like it is a mask sitting on top of a sculpted Predator face. Like you can even see the flesh tones and stuff down there. And for all I know, that is what's under there. I mean, it's definitely glued on, but yeah, very cool looking. Dreads came out, of course, looking good there on the back. And yeah, I mean, it works. And then, easiest way I found to take it off. Oh, and his necklace just flew off. Let me grab that. But you just grab him under the chin, and it pops right off. Let me get this necklace back on, though. There we go. And then you do have the alternative head, and you can see it's a standard port. So we'll just get that ported back on. And the dreads are a little bit in the way there. All right, there we go. It was getting a little difficult there, so I had to pull it off camera to get that head on there. But you can see the unmasked head looking very cool. I like the design, classic Predator look, and yeah, I think it's very well done. It is just sort of the blank Predator expression. We don't get the open mandibles or anything like that, but it still looks very cool. And yeah, I like it a lot. Looking at the rest of the figure as we go down, so we have a lot of detail. I mentioned the necklace there that flew off earlier. We get his little skull necklace, which this was actually for mine out of the package, all twisted and whatnot. I had to pop the head off to fix it. But yeah, the netting on the flesh tone there. And for the most part, the paint looks like it caught on just fine. You get some weathering on some of the metal pieces of his armor. And then I discovered that this little spot on the back is just something that they've used in other Predator body molds to hold weapons and stuff, but it's not going to be used on this one. And then we get on this hand something that is very cool. We do get opening up to reveal the little self-detonator. But I will say this, when I shut it, it didn't want to shut all the way. I kind of had to, yeah, see, it's still not quite shutting all the way. But I did want to be careful. I don't want to break the hinges or anything, but that looks very cool. Oh, sorry. There we go. Oh. There we go. So yeah, you can see the detail in there. Would have been cool if they would have painted on some of the letters or the Predator language on there. That would have been kind of neat, but oh well. But you can see again, just some of the finer details in there. Looks very, very neat. And then this hand, we do get, of course, the blade. And then these do pull out and extend, and then you can push them right back in. And you can see it's a little bit of a soft material, so nothing too crazy there. And this belt. Man, just a lot of great detail on here. I really like it a lot. And you get just some subtle shading throughout as I'm looking at all these armor pieces. And you can see, too, I mean, it looks like something that was actually forged. You know, you have all these sort of imperfections and little scratches and scuffs and things like that. Oh, I forgot to mention that. So with that disc that you get, he does have a spot to hold it in there. And you can see how everything lines up. So you have the circular piece there. So it's going to go in. And yeah, I did have somewhat of a hard time, though, doing this. There we go. It's kind of held in there, but yeah, don't be surprised if you'll have to use some sort of like blue tack or something like that, because yeah, it falls off pretty easy. But still really cool in there. We get to see some more of that design. And then going down the armor on the legs, again, looking like forged metal and things like that. And then we'll take the stand off there. And then we get some gnarly Predator feet. Very, very cool. Now, looking at the articulation, man, I was trying to just be very careful with this guy when I was doing all the articulation, because I don't have a lot of NECA figures, so I'm not too used to their articulation points, and it felt very fragile. But you have a head that can turn, and then he does look down a little bit, and he looks back a little bit as well, and you get a little bit of head pivot on there also, but you don't get a ton of head movement. The dreads do sort of inhibit a little bit, but not anything too bad, because the dreads are a soft enough material that you can turn it around. Now, looking at the shoulders, you do want to be careful, but this one here is soft, so if you wanted to raise his arm up, you can do that. You're just going to have to manipulate that shoulder piece first, and you can see that'll go up. But now if you have the shoulder cannon on, that is going to get in the way, though. And you do have rotation, but you're not going to want to use it, because you have a lot of these hoses on this arm that if you spin it, you're going to yank that hose out. Now, I will say on this arm, I had a hard time getting it up, because this armor piece on this shoulder is not as flexible. So I had a little bit more difficulty with that one. So you'll just kind of have to play with it. It's glued a lot lower. So yeah, good luck with that one. And then on this arm, when I had it out of the package, it was actually like this. So as I bent the elbow, you can see again that hose was getting a lot of pressure on it. So I found if you turn the wrist, so you do have articulation at the wrist, and then you can use that double jointed elbow without putting that pressure on it. So you do have the double jointed elbow though, and then you do have the wrist articulation as well. And there's also a bicep swivel up here, but again, you can see the pressure you're going to put on that one. This one you're fine with using the bicep swivel on though. And then the hands, you do have rotation and a hinge on all the arms, so you're good there. Now you do have a diaphragm joint, which doesn't give a full lot of motion, but of course you do get your side to side, but you get a little bit out of there, so that's not too bad. You do have waist rotation there as well. You do have the legs that can come apart, and I will say with mine, see if we can see it, there was an issue with this leg. You can see a little bit of this was getting caught. Yeah, now it's not. I had to kind of push it underneath the this piece here to be able to get the legs up, but otherwise we're good there. This piece of armor, as you can see, you can move that if you want to put the legs apart, but they're not going to come apart too far, and honestly, this is going to get in the way. That's kind of getting in the way, so not a whole lot there. You do have a thigh rotation up there, though. And then you do have a double jointed knee. This was one of the stiffer knees that I really had to mess with, but you do get a double jointed knee. And then you do have rotation here at the ankle, but you don't really get much in the way of pivot or anything like that. It looks like it's a pretty standard ball joint with just a little bit forward and backwards. And now getting a close-up look here on Batman. So a very cool design, don't get me wrong, but again, a lot of us, I think, were hoping for something based off that Batman versus Predator comic book, and instead we got something that looks more like it's based off the third Batman versus Predator comic, but even that is a little bit off. So I should have some images here popping up that kind of show what this look more, that it looks more like the Batman vs. Predator 3, but even still that it's a little off. So I'm not quite sure what the inspiration was for this figure. This piece here, the little glass cover, if you will, is not connected when you first put it on or when you first open the figure. He is going to look like this, and then it is going to come where you have to put it on, and it is very loose, so much so that I actually have a little bit of poster tack that I put on it so that way it won't just fall off, because it was just falling right off. Now, real quick to show you the issue I was having with the cape, let me get the head off here. And then this little armor piece actually slides off as well. And you can see we have a pretty standard Batman cowl, but you can actually see it doing it again here. So the cape was just sort of, it was actually like all the way back here on this side. So I just had to sort of pull it forward and sort of feed it up. And that way it was sitting higher on the neck. So if you run into that problem, you should be able to readjust it without too much issue, though. Let's get the head back on here, though. And thankfully, the heads aren't too hard to remove. Not that you have to remove Batman's head. So looking down at the rest of the figure now, though, so we get some very cool armor here. The Batman emblem on the front, and we can see like a blast mark. We can see some scratches there, and then shoulder pads are a little bit of a soft material, but very cool looking. You got some more scratch marks there, and then you do get a full cloth cape, so checking that out. You can do all sorts of stuff with this cape, which is very cool as far as however you want to drape it. If you want to have it fully draped over his shoulders, you can kind of work on that and make it happen. If you want to have, I had this one going earlier where it's sort of laying on the tops of the shoulders. So very, very cool, and actually a very well-designed cape. And then, of course, you get just the classic Batman shape out of it. So really cool, and it lays really nice on there. It has a good weight to it. So, but looking on, so we have, again, very cool looking design here on the belt. And everything I've noticed here is this is a regular Batman figure that it looks like they put a bunch of armor pieces on. So I think that NECA has a Batman body sculpt that I don't know if I've seen the Batman body sculpt. I feel like it was going to be that Batman versus that Joker alien. So this might be that Batman, because you can see there the pieces of his gauntlet sticking out from underneath. Now this piece doesn't come out, but you can definitely see the colors of the gauntlet underneath there. And then I saw another reviewer where his chest piece came off. Mine looks like it's glued on quite tightly, but the chest piece came off. These leg panels come off. So yeah, it looks like this was very much just a standard Batman body that they put some stuff on, which, whatever, it works. But looking on, so again, looking at these leg pieces, pretty cool looking, and again, underneath, very nice musculature, and we get that classic Batman gray look. Yeah, very, very cool looking. Looking at the articulation, so you have a head that can go side to side without too much issue. You even get a little bit of pivot out of it there, and then you can look down. Yeah, not too bad. Can look up, not too bad as well. So yeah, a good range of motion on there. You can bring his arms, or rather his shoulders, up, and you're not going to have too much trouble because this is a soft material here, so that is okay to bring that up at almost a full T pose. But rotating that shoulder is going to be a little bit tougher just due to that shoulder pad there. You do have a bicep swivel under there, double jointed elbows, although it is a little tricky in some spots because the biceps are so big. But you do have then a, nope, it's not there. You have a rotation on the wrist, and you have a little bit of a hinge, but you can't do too much motion with these pieces here, so that is a little bit of a bummer. You do have a ab crunch, which is very stiff, but can go down a little bit there, and then if you go back, you can start to see a gap, but it's not too bad. And actually, let's see, that was the first time I went back that far. Did I dig into anything? Nope, doesn't look like it. And actually, we didn't look at the back there. That's not good. Bummer. Oh well. But yeah, you do have that ab crunch. You do have a waist rotation as well. You have legs that can come apart quite a ways, but if you go too far, it is going to pop that leg armor off, so you do have to be cautious of that. You do have rotation right there at that ball joint. You have a double jointed knee. Then you do have a boot rotation. At least I thought you did. Did earlier. Well, okay, so you do. This one, apparently, I didn't try, so that one's a little stiff. I'm going to have to work on that. But then you do have a little bit of motion here. Can't tell if it's a full pivot or not. I guess it's a little bit of a pivot. Yeah. And it is on a hinge, and then you do have toe articulation as well, but yeah, that is really, really stiff there. And real quick, just so you can see a side-by-side of these two standing straight up next to each other, we can see that Predator is coming in at about 7 3/4 inches tall, which makes him about 19.6 centimeters, and Batman is about 7.5 inches tall to the top of the ears, making him about 19 centimeters. So they're very close in height, which is actually pretty cool, and getting them side-by-side, they definitely belong together, which is nice. Even though I'm not a huge fan of the 7-inch scale, but these two still look very nice together. And that about wraps it up for this review, everyone. So overall, I think a lot of us were really excited with this set. Just the notion of Batman versus Predator, bringing those two properties together. And NECA does do some very well detailed figures. However, something about this set just... I don't know. I was more excited when I heard about it than I am when I have it. I don't know if it's just because some of the articulation, it could be better, but it is this type of articulation that we are used to from NECA, so I can't really complain there because I knew that I would be getting NECA-style articulation, which is to say you have to be somewhat gentle. You can't be as rough with them as you are with, like, say, Marvel Legends or DC Universe Classics, and... I don't know. I am excited for this set. Don't get me wrong. It is a great looking set. I just think that there was some opportunities to get this a little bit more accurate to the original Batman vs. Predator comic, which I think is what we all think of when we think of Batman vs. Predator, is that original series that was actually really well done and quite popular. And getting this version of Batman that doesn't quite match that, I don't know. I mean, that's really the biggest thing for me. It's not the same Batman. Again, it looks like it's the Batman from Batman vs. Predator 3. So, but, you know, overall, I'll deal with it. I do wish, though, if I could have gotten one additional accessory, it would have been a unmasked Bruce Wayne head. And main reason for that is, again, in the last few panels of the original Batman vs. Predator comic, he does go after the Predator with that baseball bat, but he is not wearing his mask. So I think that would have actually been really cool, and that could have actually taken care of the inaccuracies because the armor itself isn't terrible looking, and it's a close enough match that I don't think most of us really would have noticed. So, but anyway, if you like this review, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe for more content just like this. And let me know if you got this set, what your thoughts were, what you thought about, you know, any of the articulation. Did yours have any issues or anything like that? Just let me know in the comments down below. And if you don't have this set, I wish you the best of luck in finding it. If you are looking for it, make sure to hit up that secondary market. Well, that is it, guys. Thanks for stopping by and watching my video, and have a great day.